people of YouTube. I've got a bit of a decision that I'm making that I want to share with you today. I currently have the iPhone 7 Plus 256 gigabyte model. I decided to get rid of this phone in favor of one of Apple's new offerings. Now, I had the iPhone 8 Plus available to me, or I could wait for the iPhone 10. I opted to go ahead and get the iPhone 8 Plus, and let me tell you why. At this point in time, I'm not sure that the iPhone 10 is really worth me spending the $1,200 that it would cost me to buy that phone. Not that the $900 that I spent for the iPhone 8 Plus was all that satisfying, but I think this is the better value, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. So here I've got both phones, the iPhone 7 Plus and the iPhone 8 Plus. I've gone ahead and reset my 7 Plus. I'm going to send it back to Verizon as part of the upgrade to get the 8 Plus. But the physical dimensions are almost exactly the same. I'm told that the iPhone 8 Plus is a little heavier because of the glass back, but I really don't feel the extra weight. In terms of the overall dimensions, it's negligible in terms of the difference, and in fact the iPhone 8 Plus fits all the same cases and accessories that the iPhone 7 Plus fits. What is noticeable though is the back. The aluminum rear of the iPhone 7 Plus is very nice. I like the matte finish, but the glossy and very smooth glass back of the iPhone 8 Plus is really pretty striking and provides an additional bling factor and gives the phone that much more of an elegant kind of a look. And I like it, but I think that this phone, based on it being glass, although it's the very best glass made to date, is that much more prone to being damaged via drops. And so I've bought a case for it that I put on it almost immediately to make sure that I didn't scratch the phone, and that I also protected it from any impact by way of a fall. In the phones, it's the inner guts, the processing speed, and what you get by way of raw computing power and on either model phone. Where the phones become very different is, of course, in the design. The iPhone 10 is a smaller phone with a larger screen. Not bad. I like the design of the current phone. I do think it's become a little dated. We've seen this since the iPhone 6 was introduced, so this is the 4th generation of the same design. It's relatively slim, but what you get that's different in most of the new phones now is you don't have this bezel, this forehead or the chin here that houses the home button, which is missing on the iPhone 10. It has neither the forehead nor the chin. It's about half an inch, a little more than half an inch shorter, and about a quarter of an inch thinner in terms of its width, so more narrow. Should be a lot easier to hold in the hand, where with the iPhone Plus models you've had to get used to really stretching your thumb, and they've had a bit of a software hack to kind of move things down if you double tap the home screen. So that shouldn't be an issue with the iPhone 10. The one issue that I think I will have with the 10 is at the top of that bigger screen, there's a bit of a notch that includes some of the cameras and sensors for the face recognition, which although it might be the very best in the world, I think is still not yet tried and true, and will perhaps improve over time with a number of software upgrades. But what's really missing is the bottom bezel and what houses the home button, which also has the fingerprint ID feature, which has become very, very robust as of late, and I use it quite often for for Apple Pay. I don't know that I want to trust Face ID to my Apple Pay process, let alone use Face ID to log onto my phone. It may be very easy, very simple, just a matter of holding the phone up and automatically logging in. But Touch ID has become so good now that I can easily just touch my phone very quickly and know that the phone's open. A lot of the apps that I use, my Starbucks app, my Apple Pay app, reloading my credit card, all that stuff works fairly seamlessly with Touch ID. Not to say that I'm not all for moving forward with the new technology, and I think Face ID is innovative and should work very well, but I just wonder whether the iPhone X was a bit rushed to market, and the attempts to get Touch ID to work underneath the glass screen without the need for a home button weren't abandoned, but just put off to get this new model out, and might resurface in the iPhone XS or the iPhone 11. I wouldn't be surprised, and for that reason I'm concerned that buying the iPhone X would mean that whatever comes after that might leapfrog it in terms of improvements that we would have hoped to have seen in this model but just weren't quite ready. The other thing about the iPhone X that I'm concerned about is the fact that that screen is bigger may mean that the aspect ratio of the screen is a bit of a compromise. It's a taller screen, but the width of the screen is no different. Where that comes into play will be in watching videos. As most of you watch videos, we do that in landscape mode. And so if the width is fairly equivalent, aside from the 1/4 inch difference that I told you was narrower in the case of the iPhone X, that additional height, that more than 1/2 inch, may mean that the video images will try to fill the width of your screen when it's in landscape mode, and you might sacrifice some of the height of that image. So things might be cut off the top or cut off the bottom, where the aspect ratio here with the iPhone 8 Plus is a bit more natural in terms of being ready for HD video, or video that fits the size of the screen much more naturally than it would a screen that's another 1/2 inch or so more long on the width when viewed in landscape mode. So that's a bit concerning. No issues with the brightness of either phone. In fact, the brightness is comparable, but where the iPhone 8 Plus uses the LCD technology, that is good, and it's retina quality, no discernible pixels can be seen. You won't get the same contrast ratio that you'll get with the iPhone X's OLED screen. So the blacks and the whites and all of that contrast will provide for a much more immersive experience and give you some real contrast quality that will be not missing on the iPhone 8 Plus, but just not the same when you go from one to the other, although I think this will be satisfactory. The true tone, changing of the hues to balance the light temperature is okay so far. I can pick up on it sometimes depending on whether I'm in a warm lit environment or a cooler lit environment, where the phone will change if I move from light to light source to just test that. But again, the contrast ratio won't be what you'll find on the iPhone X. Is that a make it or break it deal for me? Not really. The other thing about the iPhone X, aside from the design and the screen itself, is the camera. Both phones will feature two cameras. One that's more of a close-up camera that's got I believe a 1.4 aperture, and then the telephoto camera, so that the two cameras work together to provide that portrait shooting that has become so popular with the iPhone 7 Plus and has been carried over into the iPhone 8 Plus and certainly into the iPhone X. The processor will take the camera to a whole new level all by itself, but the difference of the telephoto camera on the iPhone X and the iPhone 8 Plus will provide the edge to the iPhone X, where the iPhone X's telephoto camera will be a 2.4 aperture. The iPhone 8 Plus telephoto is a 2.8 aperture camera. So slightly better bokeh in terms of the ability of the iPhone 10 to really blur the background when you're doing a portrait shot. As I'm not super big on the phone camera at all and prefer a digital camera in most cases, but will use my phone in a pinch, again, that's not a deal breaker for me. So overall, the story for me is for a design that I think I will like and would probably prefer, but for a screen and facial recognition technology as opposed to Touch ID, I'm not so sure that the $200 premium for the iPhone 10 is worth me going ahead and, first of all, waiting for that phone, because it will be sometime in probably mid-November before it comes out, and then assuming I can get one of the very first ones that comes out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's perhaps sometime into December, if not longer, before I could actually get my hands on one. I'm going to spend less money for the same processing speed and a tried and true form factor. And since I tend to buy a new phone every year, I'll just wait and see what comes after the iPhone 10. I think the 10 is a good step and a strong step in the right direction, but I think it's a first generation product that I'm not quite ready to spend premium money for. And the iPhone 8 Plus, for all that it provides in terms of familiarity, tried and true technology, along with the very best processor there is out there, 6 cores versus 4, blows the doors off anything Android at this point. I'm happy with my purchase. So that's it for me. That's why I prefer the iPhone 8 Plus over the iPhone 10. Iceman out. I forgot. If you like this video, please subscribe.